Okay, so now that we've sort of talked about your current life and what's going on for you currently in terms of how your school's impacted you, what you're currently doing outside of school, where your ambitions are. For those of you that don't know Veer, obviously something happened in your childhood which probably affected the whole course of your outline, the outline of your life and everything. Yeah, what was it? Do you want to just give the viewers a little bit of background as to what happened?
So I want to say around March, towards the end of March in 2018, I lost my mum to a heart attack. But like since then, it's been very difficult. But since it's happened, like I've definitely had a roller coaster of emotions. But within that time, I've definitely learned a lot, like growing up without a mother in a way, because I was only what 12 when it happened. So yeah, it's been a very interesting journey, and it's still going on. So yeah, I've definitely learned a lot, and I've definitely had to step up more than I'd like to. Like there's things I've had to do that I didn't think I'd have to do at that age, if you get what I mean. Yeah. So yeah.
I think the first, I mean, I remember getting the message from my dad actually, funny enough, it was my dad who messaged me in the morning. And I'm
Mm.
like, oh shit, right, I need to message this guy quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I messaged you and you just said, what was it?
I'm trying to think.
It was like thank you for messaging. And I was like, this is so weird because you are such an upbeat person. And I get this message from you, and I'm like, fine, give it a day. So then I call you at the end of the day, being
Yeah.
like, "Oh, cool, maybe like he'll be in a bit more of a mood to talk. Luckily you were. But oh my God, that day for me as a
Yeah.
classmate was weird because I don't know what to do, right?
No one does.
This is a difficult question to ask from as like an interviewer per se, but can you take us through that day in terms of like how was it? What because yeah, how did you feel on that day more than anything?
I was like, what? Like it didn't hit me like until 10, 15 minutes after. Then it got to me. Then I was like, what, oh, what's happened? What's this? What's going on? And then I broke, and it shocked my sister as well as my dad as well, because I have like obviously I have ADHD, so it in a way it heightened everything. So I'd like to say I was more of a mother's boy, so it hit me a lot. Um, yeah, emotions are very heightened. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I don't really know like scientifically how to sort of explain this, but ADHD for those of people who at home that don't understand, can you just like give a brief insight to what living with ADHD and is in its simplest terms, I guess.
ADHD is kind of like where you're kind of hyperactive, your emotions can be heightened at certain times. You tend to lose focus, you're like fidgety, or like if you don't like a certain thing, you just will pay no attention to it. But if you're passionate about something, you would go full out towards it. Um, and if say like if there's something traumatic that happens in your life, it will heighten it. Like it will it will like set off a trigger in that sense of it into within that moment. You tend to have anger issues, and there's times where you feel like really low, and there's times where you feel like really like happy, jolly, and all that stuff. It's on the similar lines of bipolar disorder. Like at moments you're happy, at moments you're sad, at moments you don't know what you're doing, and sometimes you think like you do stuff without thinking in that sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that kicked in, and everything was like whoa, everything happened like in a rush, and on top of that, couple days after it all kicked off, I had to go school straight away. So that normal morning period of it thinking in and all that stuff, I barely had any time for that because a couple days after I had straight away to go to school, broke down, then dad had to come in, explain to head of year. what happened and all that stuff. And yeah,
I'm just trying to think, like, in terms of we're sometimes at a point we're just like, our CBA to come into school today, just because
exactly.
like we're tired or whatever. And then
Yeah,
yeah, how was it like dealing with that emotion, but not actually dealing with it, if you know what I mean?
yeah. It was very like difficult and tricky because for me, I find it very difficult to open up to people. Like I have to like know you and like trust you to open up about anything. Um, so it was very like difficult and all that stuff. And obviously, I wanted to try to keep people knowing very minimal. So I only told one friend, and I knew he wouldn't snake or he wouldn't say or anything like that. So in that sense, I was all right. But there was this one situation where there's that classic, oh, your mom jokes, all that stuff at high school that goes around. I was like, yeah, it got said to me, and this was like second week going back, so it was still very fresh. I lashed out, I was shouting, I almost like I charged at the guy, and that's how my whole class found out. And I was like, shit, they're gonna ask or this or that. And then it got to the point where the teachers were like, yeah, it's all right, you can go to this room. You can either, if you fill up for it, you can go in and ask for the work and come back, or you can get a friend to bring it to you and all that stuff. So I was doing that for about what 2, 3 months, and then a few people would ask, "Oh, what happened?" I would tell them. They were like, "Oh, I'm here for you." They gave me hugs and all that stuff. So in that sense, it was nice. But it's like obviously because the ADHD was kicking, I don't want to have like people like feeling sorry for me and all that stuff. So yeah, it was very difficult.
In that period where you were sort of like in your own space, maybe with a friend or so, coming and bringing you like that isolation, what was that like? What was that like in terms of your mental health?
But my mental health by then went over the roof. Like it was very like low. Didn't couldn't be asked to do half the stuff I enjoyed. Just wanted to be alone and all that stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
There was very rare occasions where I'd be like, oh, I'm happy and all that stuff. But yeah.
I mean,
And
do you think that's natural in the sense that it's natural to feel like that, but
Mm,
and then there's a lot of points where we sort of figure out, oh, you should try and keep upbeat, try and keep upbeat. But I
yeah.
mean, Anirudh, as a question for you, like, is that sort of like a false sense of actually how you're meant to feel? Like, there is a point where you are just meant to be feeling down, trying to actually accept everything.
Mm,
yeah, I think human behavior is you sometimes feel sad, you sometimes feel happy, but obviously when you go through something so traumatic, you lose someone. I mean, Veer called himself a mom's boy. I'm sure he was. And you know,
I can attest to that.
yeah, and when you lose someone so central to your life, the feeling of being down would be constant. And the question I have for you is when you went through it, or in the 2 to 3 months of mourning, though it may not be a formal mourning, I'm sure you're mourning internally and informally. What got you through it?
um, a very close like primary school friend. Like where she's like my big sister. Like very close primary school friend. YouTube a lot. Like YouTube helped a lot. Couple like high school mates who I like really trust and to this day still trust and talk to, keep in contact with. Yeah, they were always there for me, keeping me in check, all that stuff.
Mhm. The idea of just having a solid base around you.
Mm,
I'm sort of just thinking to myself now, like my sort of impact on your life at that point.
oh, like you definitely had a major impact, like just being there as well. And also another thing that kind of like was like a little like not so good situation was obviously when you had to come to my house just for like depending on how they normally pay respect to someone who's passed away and
Oh
all that
yeah,
stuff.
I remember that.
That obviously that was the very first time you ever came to my house in our like over 10-year friendship.
Yeah, mental.
And I was like, bro, why? Why did this have to be the reason you have to come over?
But
Because
it was also that point, wasn't it, when we went, I was like, nah, like bun this, let's go to the park instead.
yeah, we did, yeah.
Yeah, and that, I think that helped. I won't lie, like
Oh, it definitely did. Like I used to be out the house constantly when that whole stuff happened that in those 10-day periods.
yeah. No, but like I'm just trying to reflect on my friendship with you at that point, because it was probably at one of its strongest points.
Mm.
Like, because an interesting thing is, so with Shish, we did this Bharat Darshan trip, which is a charity trip to India. And from that, I made a lot of new friends. But I think, and my friendship group changed a lot during that time. And I don't want to make this about me, but in the sense that out of a lot of so there's two centers in the Shishkinj London like landscape, and we go to one of them, all three of us do. And I made a lot of friends from the other one, and sort of my friendship group from this one that I still currently go to, it very much shifted, and they weren't really my close friends, but the one person who still was you. And
Ah.
like, in the sense that you were still very central part of my life when it came to friends, and when it came to like who I talked to and who I enjoy talking to. For example, like I remember after every like shish day, at one point, me and you would always be on like the playground set just asking each other Harry Potter trivia questions.
Oh my God, yeah. Oh
Yeah,
my
like
goodness.
all of that stuff, like our bond was just incredible, and it still is,
Yeah.
even though we don't talk as much as we probably should or whatever. But
But we
like,
still have that strong friendship connection.
yeah, and I guess the point is like during that time, and I think this is a thing to touch upon, is when you're going through trauma and whatever, as the person on the other side of it who
Mm.
isn't directly affected by it but it's trying to support the person, how the hell do you do that without sort of
Exactly.
being overbearing? And I think that's the debate I was having in my head all the time. Is like, he knows I'm here for him. I
Yeah.
don't want to be overbearing and be over present, because that will just destroy the dynamic that built our strong friendship. So like, sort of when a lot of people ask me, being like, how did you help him? I was like, I wasn't the most present out of all your mates,
No,
sure.
yeah.
But
But
like,
your presence was there in that sense. You get what I
yeah.
mean?
And I think that's such an important thing for everyone out there. Like, Ani, I don't know if you would agree with me on this, but sort of like, you don't physically have to be the most present in all your friends' lives to have the biggest, not the biggest, but the
Impact.
best impact on your friends' lives.
Yeah, and I think even during less sad time, less traumatic times, I think when my mom meets her friends, she meets like her uni friends, I don't know, once every 6 months or something. It's like they don't need to really like my mom. Actually, never mind. I'll give you a better example. Mom has this friend in Canada, and they've been friends since they were like really like teenagers, like 13, 14. They haven't seen each other in like 6 years, and they'll call each other, I don't know, once every few months or something. But when they see each other, they're like best friends again. And it's those people, and the very few people I think each person has, that you don't need to talk to consistently. You don't need to be with every single day, but you remain friends with, and you remain as close as you were then as
And I
you
think
are now.
that's not to say, like, you know, for example, like that would probably, people who believe that strictly would be like, well, then how are you and Anirudh like the best mates like that you
Yeah.
are? There's obviously that flip side, right? Where it's like there, but because that's natural. Like, we go to the same school, we go to shish together, we do a lot of things together. I see the guy basically every day of my life. Like, at some points it is
6 days a week.
yeah,
Yeah.
6 days a week. At some points it is 7 times as well. Like,
Yeah.
it's crazy. So like, that's not to say like that side of it isn't true. It's also just to say that I think when you're going through trauma, or you're not, to a point, you don't necessarily have to be the most like physically present in
Yeah.
that person's life to help them. Just reiterating to them once or twice, you're there for them. You don't know what they're going through. Like, don't BS in that respect. Like, you're just as clueless as them when it comes to
Yeah.
like the emotions that they're feeling. But just sticking by their side, that's sort of like, I think, I don't know if they're, from your experience, could you say that's one of the best pieces of advice to give to
Oh,
people?
without a doubt. Obviously, you don't want to be obviously you want to be there for them, but you don't want to constantly be like, oh, I'm always here for you if you want it, because then you're like kind of nagging them in that sense. Like we're trying to still process whatever happened, and then we've got you in the background, be like, oh, I'm always here for you. Like we get it, you know, you're here for us. We respect and thank you for it, but let us think it through ourselves, and we know that you're there. So yeah,
I think people sort of underestimate the importance of independence, even during times of struggle.
but even like with me, I'm always like a jolly, happy, smiley, energetic person at any time of the day. Like it came to a lot of shock to people see me like down, upset, all that stuff, because they're like, I've never seen you like this. Like in college, we had some like really like, upsetting news about a teacher that we all love, a teacher that we all love. And it was like it brought all of performing arts down. Like we could see everyone was deeply affected. And at first I was like, I'm all right, I'm fine. Then I broke, and one of my best mates now, he's the first time he's seen me break, and I've always been there for him. I've helped him, he's helped me. And the first thing he said once I calmed down, he was like, whoa, I've never ever seen you like this. Like this scared me. Because I'm quoting him, he was like, you're normally a happy, smiley, jolly, energetic person. You're always there for people. This shocked me seeing you like this because he's never seen me like this. I was like, oh yeah.
That's why I was like, when the first time I came around to your house, had to be that time to comfort your family during that time of loss. I was like, what
Yeah, I was
the
like,
hell is this? This is mental. Because
mm,
more than anything, when I saw your sister as well, and I saw your sister and how down that she was, and then I saw your dad, and I think mine and your dad's bond is like as strong as it's ever been.
yeah,
It's crazy, but like seeing your whole family and people that I didn't even directly know, but I knew that they were integral to
mm,
your life and your family's life and their strength. Seeing all of that, I was
yeah.
like, I don't like this situation. I don't ever want
No,
to
of
be in
course,
this
yeah.
situation again. But like as a friend, as a best friend, it was like, whoa, whoa. Yeah, it's crazy. But how's it been sort of now? Like you've gone through, like everyone sort of talks about the 5 stages of grief and whatever, and like
Yeah,
acceptance and whatever, right? Obviously you've accepted it. You obviously you're moving with the times, and you're progressing in your life, and you still got the memories and everything. But like,
yeah.
how is it dealing with it right now? Like,
Um,
yeah.
it's very like on odd occasion I'll like have a little moment where I'll be like, oh, I miss her, or I'll shed like a little tear here and there. But otherwise I just keep on going doing things that I know she'd want me to do, or keep life going in that sense. And like I always know I've got a piece of her with me, like literally I've got her necklace that she always used to wear with me. So in that sense, it's kind of like she's still with me in that sense. And I always like see like my small achievements or my big achievements. I always like, I know she would. I'm doing it for her and all that stuff. Like we're in memory of her and all that stuff. Like my martial arts, I had got my first or second level of black belt after she passed, and I was like, yeah, no, I did that for her in that sense. So I'm definitely moving on in a happy space. Like, I've definitely accepted it, but here and there, I do have that mini moment of like, oh, I miss her. Like, what when it really hits me is when either if I'm like really like by myself and I'm like really down, or even if I see like some like people that mother and son or mother and daughter walking by, or in like shopping and all that stuff, they're like mini moments where they hit me like, oh, I used to do that, or I used to like cherish those memories and that stuff. And
Mm.
yeah,
It's an interesting one because it's always continuous, right? It's
exactly. I could,
never ending.
yeah.
And I guess, I assume you have, but have you been able to develop techniques and sort of coping mechanisms that and allow you to sort of deal with that?
Like I've definitely opened up like to my best mate from primary school. Like she's made it very clear that I'm there for her, she's there for me. We both helped each other. Like she's always been like my like mother figure ish in that sense. Like other things have like, helped me forget or well move on in that sense. It was like watching YouTube. Like YouTube has definitely helped. like it may be a little bit silly, but it's definitely like escaping your current situation, just focusing on the video or whatever. Like, prime example, Sidemen and or KSI, like they do dumb and silly things for entertainment. Things like that would help me forget or like not think about it in that moment. And just like going for walks, music, listening to music. Yeah, things like that would definitely help.
Yeah. And I think that's a great like example of like the smallest things and the most normal things to anyone. They can always just help. You don't have to have like a specific, this is my trauma coping mechanism.
Yeah,
Like
it's
just the
variety
things
of
that
things.
keep you going in life generally. Like I'm sure all three of us, we love YouTube. Like we all love music. Anirudh's music taste is diabolical, but it's brilliant at the same
It's
time.
not diabolical.
It
Far
is.
It
from it.
is. It
It's
is.
diverse.
It's diabolical.
It's
It's
diverse.
diabolically diverse. That's
There you go.
yeah. But like obviously I kid, but yeah, I guess that's sort of like with trauma, like it's obviously really difficult to come back to the normality, and the normality changes within yourself, but the things that got you to that point before that trauma hit, they can
Yeah.
still be the things that get you out of it. It's just
Oh yeah.
your relationship with it changes, I guess. So I guess like the final question to do with this whole like this life-changing scenario is, what would your biggest piece of advice be to anyone going through trauma?
Ooh.
And then
I
I'm gonna ask a follow-up question to Anirudh and myself actually after. But yeah, what would your biggest?
guess just bit easier said than done, but just know there are people out there that are there for you. You may not realize or know it in that moment, but there are people there for you. So don't be afraid to reach out, and obviously do it whenever you feel comfortable, whenever you're ready. Like don't do it because a situation's happened, or do it because you've been told to do it. Do it because you want to do it. Yeah.
And Anirudh, what do you think you've learned from hearing this story?
I think actually I've learned one main thing, and that is, or the one thing that he says is, or they talked about was, though it may have been hard, he always powered through, and I think that's essential. He had a strong foundation of friends. I mean, he described one of his primary school friends as motherly, which is I don't know her, but I'm sure she must be an incredible person. And I think by having such a supportive network around you during your times of struggle, times when you need people, I think that's probably the most important thing that you can do.
Cool.
What have you learned?
It's an interesting one because I sort of didn't, obviously I didn't go through it with you, but I was very much like in your life throughout the whole
Yeah.
time. So
Well,
I've
definitely.
seen
Yeah.
it, I've seen it firsthand from my experience with you and seeing you grow as a person. So I guess yeah, the main thing I've learned from this whole story and this ongoing story in our friendship is how to be the most supportive friend. Not because like your best friend, right? Veer, I still consider you to be my best friend, like even though we don't talk as much and whatever, because
Oh yeah, same.
because of the bond that we've had, and that's grown since we were both flipping six.
Yeah, we just know that we're always there for each other, even though we
Yeah, and
don't
the
talk
thing is,
as much.
there's one thing that I know has cemented our friendship, right? Which is when you surprised me after Shish that one day,
Black Panther.
Black Panther.
Yeah.
That epitomized our friendship because, like, obviously it's a lovely gesture and whatever. But if you remember the shock on my face
Bro,
when we were having lunch,
honestly,
I'm like,
one of the best reactions ever. Just being like, "Yeah, your dad's not picking you up. You're coming with me. My dad's dropping you home." That whole
yeah,
like
I was so
lying face, going to
oh,
Harrow, and then be like, "You." I remember you saying like, "Oh, after we like gone out to eat, you were like, oh, what time's dad picking me up?" And me and my dad were like, "Yeah, you're not going home yet. We're watching. We're going to see Black Panther. It's right there." So that was definitely We need to do something like that again. Definitely.
Yeah,
All
yeah,
three,
no,
all three of
definitely.
us.
Yeah, yeah. I think a thing would be is once everything's done, let's all, Oppenheimer, the film that's coming out
We
with.
have to see that together.
Yeah,
All of
let's
us.
watch
Yeah.
that together. Let's watch that
Definitely.
together because
Yeah.
I mean I'm so excited for that film. But yeah,
Honestly, so.
no, yeah. The thing that I've learned is probably how to be the most supportive friends in the time of most need.
Mm.
Because your best friend and whatever constitutes and whatever made that to be will never change. But sort of how you can be the best friend in that moment and how you can be the most supportive will change. And being able to adapt to that is a real testament to your friendship. And that's probably what I've learned the most. So, Veer, thank you very much for sharing and opening up about that. I'm sure
All
all
right.
our viewers and listeners will really appreciate hearing that. Even if it doesn't directly affect them, this is something that you can turn to anytime that you're going through something, a moment of struggle.
And I think I just want to end. I just want to say your mom would be very proud of you, Vera, for how far you've come as a
Agreed.
person and
Thank you.
willingness.
You are still a twat sometimes, but I tell
Oh,
you,
yeah, come on, without that, come on, I have to be.
obviously,
I
but
am that person in the friendship group.
yes, yeah, you said it. But like, no, you have done amazing in life. Like, it's truly, and this is again a corny phrase to say in some people's eyes, but I don't care. It is inspirational the fact that you've managed to, if anything, excel from the situation that you were put in. Like you have done bits for yourself, and you will continue to do so. And the future is bright, and I'm very excited to watch you grow as a person. And yeah.